When you talk about the WNBA, it's like sending out the bat signal. Dysfunction continues to reign. Because it's the WNBA, we can't talk about the product on the court and what is actually happening. We've got to talk about the infighting that seems to perpetually be happening in the W. They fight on the court, they fight off the court, they fight in social media. If we're talking about the WNBA, we should be talking about the finals. Let's begin in the WNBA where dysfunction continues to reign. We should be talking, if we're talking about the WNBA, which we are, ideally, we should be talking about the finals, where the matchup is now set. The Phoenix Mercury are going to meet the Las Vegas Aces for the league championship, but no, because it's the WNBA, we can't talk about the product on the court and what is actually happening. We've got to talk about the infighting that seems to perpetually be happening in the W. This time it is Minnesota Lynx star Napheesa Collier speaking out against the WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert, and doing so with emphasis after her Minnesota Lynx were eliminated by the Mercury this week. And one thing that we've said all along as we've gone through this season, the one place where it appears that the ladies of the WNBA can agree with each other is that the officiating sucks. That has been a constant. They fight on the court, they fight off the court, they fight in social media, but they come together on the topic of they don't like the officiating. And apparently now we're very clear that they do not like what they view as a lack of leadership starting at the top with the commissioner. I want to go to Napheesa Collier's words here, speaking about WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert and all of the reasons that Engelbert has lost not only Napheesa Collier's confidence, but according to Collier, she's lost the confidence of pretty much the entire league.
At Unrivaled this past February, I sat across from Cathy and asked how she planned to address the officiating issues in our league. Her response was, well, only the losers complain about the refs. I also asked how she planned to fix the fact that players like Caitlin, Angel, and Paige, who are clearly driving massive revenue for the league, are making so little for their first 4 years. Her response was, Caitlin should be grateful she makes $16 million off the court, because without the platform that the WNBA gives her, she wouldn't make anything. And in that same conversation, she told me players should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for the media rights deal that I got them. That's a mentality driving our league from the top. We go to battle every day to protect a shield that doesn't value us. The league believes it succeeds despite its players, not because of them.
Engelbert's leadership is, quote-unquote, the worst in the world, according to Collier, going on to make a very pointed remark about the fact that Engelbert told her that only losers complain about the refs, which must mean that virtually every player in the league is a loser in the eyes of the commissioner, because we've been hearing about it all season long. And the reality is, they're unhappy campers. They're unhappy about how much money they make. They're unhappy about how they see the collective bargaining situation. As obviously we've talked about it, the expansion teams in the WNBA going for $250 million. And they feel that they are not being compensated appropriately, even with the raises that are going to be on the horizon for them. Cathy Engelbert falling below Engelbert Humperdinck in my Engelbert power rankings this week with this news coming out. Look, Napheesa, I can relate to your frustrations because there are commissioners that I don't like too, quite frankly. And we can start right here with this guy who, while I do like some of the things that Theo Epstein has done in terms of trying to sort of save baseball, I'd like to apologize to Bud Selig for thinking that he was the worst commissioner. He's clearly not. The golden at bat, remember when that was being bandied about? You can fuck off with the golden at bat, and you can fuck off with the rumors that we hear about radical realignment that would functionally destroy what we now know as the American League and the National League. If we have conferences in Major League Baseball, I don't know what I'm going to be able to do about that. I'm a baseball fan. I don't think baseball can drive me completely away permanently. But boy, Rob Manfred has tried on more than one occasion. According to the Sports Business Journal, Cathy Engelbert is likely to exit as the WNBA commissioner after the CBA negotiations are complete. As you can see here, the word is she hasn't connected. She's not a relationship builder. Apparently her 1950s dad tough love of rub some dirt on it and walk it off if you don't like it is not resonating with the modern generation of young women who comprise WNBA rosters. And with that, when you talk about the WNBA, it's like sending out the fucking bat signal to this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and send it out now. I'm sure he perks up like a dog that hears a car door slam 27 miles away once the WNBA begins to be discussed. Let's welcome now to the program the international streaming star who joins me as always from Nashville, Tennessee. He is, of course, Ronnie T-Shirts. Ronnie, this is a radical idea, but I'm going to put it out there for you. If drafted, if they came to you, if the power brokers were to arrive in Franklin, Tennessee, would you accept the role of WNBA commissioner?
No chance. No chance.
Doesn't it seem like a lot of fun?
No, man. I like my relatively stress-free, anxiety-free life. Not a chance, Ricky. Maybe if I was 40 years old, I would do it, but no chance. No.
Not happening.
What about you?
Well,
what about you? You want the job?
What does it pay, Ron? What are the hours and how much does it pay?
Yeah,
That's my question.
I mean, if it's Roger Goodell money, well, then maybe I would do it for a couple of years, but it's clearly not. It's clearly not going to be Roger Goodell money. Yeah,
I would only say to you that having women angry at you is what marriage is for. You know what I mean? I don't need more of that. I know what it's like dealing with disgruntled women, though. So maybe I bring a skill set.
I'm gonna say you got five. You basically have a basketball team. You got five, right?
Cathy Engelbert. Ronnie said earlier that the WNBA commissioner position is one that he would want no part of, and I'm inclined to agree with him on that particular matter. But if I had the opportunity to be the Major League Baseball commissioner, I would look at it a little bit differently. In fact, I think I almost have a responsibility to everybody to take on that role. And my first edict would be the most important thing, which is this: every team must have, in the Commissioner Cobb era, at least one fat guy with a mullet. Can we all agree on this? There's no downside here. It's all upside, no downside. And please note that I say at least one. I would encourage teams to explore the possibilities of obtaining more than one fat guy with a mullet, because I think that would only make baseball stronger, quite frankly, and I know that a lot of you agree with me on that. Major League Baseball playoffs are underway, and who better to come and break it down with us than a former Major League All-Star? Always a pleasure to welcome back to the program career .302 hitter and 1980s arcade legend, Sean Casey, joins the program. Sean, how's it going, brother?
Ricky, you're the best, dude. And I love the championship sprint arcade legend, because I feel like, deep down, I know I played 12 years in the big leagues and all that good stuff. But when I think about myself, I think about that guy who was going to championship sprint, playing there 4 hours on one quarter, and not have my mom. I'd take the $20. I'd take the $5 from my mom and go get a slush puppy and a pretzel and 1 quarter for the next 4 hours at the arcade.
Oh, we practically a Bo Jackson situation between championship sprint and baseball here. You know, it's hard to say where you left a greater legacy. We're going to talk about that blazing foot speed of yours too a little bit later.
Thank you.
In the segment, we were having a good conversation before we started rolling tape here. Sean, let's start with the playoffs. We're underway. It still feels weird to me, the playoffs getting started before we're even into October. At least we're into October now. As we're taping here, the Tigers and the Guardians are tied 1-1 in the 5th inning. The Guardians could be gone by the time this show airs later today. First, take me through that series. One of your former teams there, the Tigers, and of course you were drafted by Cleveland when they were the Indians. What do you make of this series? We got a 2 teams separated by 1 game during the regular season. Cleveland at home here for this 3-game set. As a player, how do you approach it when you go through the grind to 162 and then suddenly 2 out of 3? How does the mentality, are you able to flip a switch and get into that mentality?
Well, you just want to get in. You want to get to the table. I mean, this is a whole new season once you get into the postseason, and then it's really whoever gets hot is going to win it. When you look at this series, Guardians Tigers, you saw what Scooble meant to that team. Day one, I think he had 13 or 14 punch outs, almost went 8 innings. I mean, total lockdown stuff. They end up, pulling that game out, to get game 1. I think when I look at that series, really it's about offense. I mean, the Guardians have had such a tough time just getting on base all season. They've really relied on their starting pitching and their bullpen to really get them where they're at right now. And you're seeing it again. And in game 1 they put up 1 run. In game 2 they've got 1 run. And now the Tigers aren't hitting that great either because the Guardians do have really good pitching. So this is really going to be a pitcher's duel. I really believe whoever can hit with runners in scoring position is going to win this series.
Sean, while we're on the topic of Cleveland here, this is just an aside. I wasn't even planning to ask you this, but it just popped in my mind, and you and I play it pretty loose anyway. So let me ask you, what do you make of that gambling controversy around Clase and Ortiz? They're both still on indefinite, paid leave right now. What do you make of that situation there? Because, obviously people talk a lot about, there's no putting the genie back in the bottle with gambling. We know that this is the reality of the world that we live in, but sometimes maybe we're not fully prepared for what some of the effects might be. How surprised were you by that? And based on what you've seen, how unlikely is it for major league pitchers of the caliber of, a guy like Emmanuel Clase, one of the great closers in baseball, to, dribble some of those, 40-foot bouncers up there? What did you make of it when you heard the story?
I mean, I don't know a ton about the story. I've probably seen what you've seen, but it doesn't look good for those guys. I mean, it looks like there was a lot of pitches that were, not even close. Like I said, I don't know. I mean, I like to think innocent until proven guilty, but I guess at the end of the day, the red flag for all players is you can't, if you're gonna throw pitches or people are watching. I mean, they're watching the lines, they're watching money that's gambled. And in this day and age, I know that betting is part of professional sports nowadays. But if you're a player and you're going to try and do anything that's a little fishy, you're going to get caught. I mean, there's just people watching. So I don't know exactly in this situation. I just know in a broad sense that if you do try to throw pitches here and there, or in basketball, if you come out of a game and you're supposed to get, your over-unders 3 rebounds and you got 2 and you come out with a head injury or something or a bad calf, I just think the red flags are going to go up. And I just believe it's becoming part of our game is monitoring anything that goes on in professional sports.
Yeah, and obviously a big loss for Cleveland there, especially the closer. Cade Smith looks great, by the way. I mean, he's not, he looks as good, honestly, as Clase, but Cleveland's going to have to get a lead for that to matter. We'll see how this one plays out today. Let's go to the other American League Series. Sean, Boston at New York. Boston grabbing game one, so the Yankees' backs are against the wall already here in this matchup. And before we talk about it, we've got a little bit of tape here. Alex Cora, let's listen to what he had to say.
Alex, how will familiarity help this group, playing in a spot where they've been before against a team that they're used to, for a group that's largely unfamiliar with the postseason?
Yeah, I think that helps. Of course, they get the last at bat, which is, they earned that right. But come here, we love the clubhouse. Louis is amazing. Miguel is the best cook in the league, So there's a lot of good things that they do here to accommodate the visiting team. We got our families here. We know it's going to be tough, right? But it's a great place.
Sean, from a home field advantage standpoint, is it possible to be too accommodating of your visitors? Or were there any parks around the league where teams just kind of, you felt like they were, you tried not to take it personally the way that the accommodations were?
Well, I remember when we used to, years ago when I was in the NL Central, when we used to play Tony La Russa in the Cardinals, I'm like, doesn't really feel like they're trying to make it too comfortable with us here playing these guys. It was always a little dicey at times, but it's the big leagues now, and I believe like the combinations for everybody, whether you're a visiting team or a home team, are great. Whether the way you get fed, the accommodations in the clubhouse, combination for families. So I think it's more about being on the field, getting on the field, having the crowd energy. I still really believe the Yankees are in this series. This is the one series that I think the Yankees have a really good chance to win. I mean, when you face Crochet and Chapman, those are the two arms that you see in game one. I mean, that's a tall order for anybody. I mean, Crochet was on, lights out. Chapman came in. I mean, there was one point this season, I believe he threw 50 no-hit innings. He's been pretty lights out, got into trouble in the ninth, ended up working out of that jam. But I really believe this is a series that this one's not over. I believe the Yankees still have a shot to win this series and win 2 in a row in New York.
A difficult year for the Yankees. They still end up tied for the best record in the American League, end up with the 4 seed because Toronto got the tiebreaker there. As a player, how do you feel? You go 94-68. You're tied for the best record in the league, and you got to accept that number 4 seed without even getting the opportunity at a tiebreaker game. I actually checked earlier. I asked AI, Sean, who would have won the Red Sox Yankees in 78 if they had gone off a regular season, and it turns out it would have been the Yankees. But we would have been robbed of Bucky fucking Dent. Bucky would have never gotten his new middle name if we just did it this way. I'm old school, Sean. I mean, I feel like there should be a tiebreaker there. I feel like you got to want one game for it all if you tie for a division. Am I just being like, get off my lawn guy?
Well, I tiebreakers give me nightmares still. I was in that 99 tiebreaker when it was the Mets, Reds, and Al Leiter just threw a gem of a game when I was 25 years old, young buck. So I remember those tiebreakers. I don't know. I also think the 3-game series in the wild card is also generous. I mean, it's given a lot of teams other opportunities to get in. So at the end of the day, you got 162 games. You got to go back to April. Where'd you give up a game? Go back to May. Where'd you give up a game? Where did you not lock in to get that one extra win? So I feel like you got 162 games to get it right and get to where you want to go. That's kind of how I look at it now. I'm an old school guy like you, but I do think having the 3-game wild card series, when a few years ago it used to be 1 game, when a few years before that there was no wild card, I'd have to think, hey, listen, at the end of the day, if you want to win the division, you got to put together 162 and get 95 wins if you want to win it.
That's fair. You make a good case. The Mariners and the Blue Jays are waiting for who advances here. Seattle is going to get the winner of the Detroit-Cleveland series, and the Blue Jays will get either the Red Sox or the Yankees. Starting with Seattle, Sean, it seems to me Cal Raleigh, 60 home runs as a catcher, and I know that he's gotten some decent media from that, but it still seems to me that not a big enough of a deal has been made of that. There was no catcher in the history of the majors who had ever had a 50 home run season. Not only did he do that, he hit 60, which is obviously something only a handful of guys have ever done. When you look at the American League, Cal Raleigh or Aaron Judge, it seems like that's going to come down to the MVP race there. Who would you have?
I mean, both historical seasons. The fact that Raleigh's a catcher, 60 home runs, beat Mantle's switch hitting home runs too at 54, which is, pretty amazing what he's done. But I look at it this way. I know back when I was playing, a lot of guys had career years, a lot of guys had historical years, but Barry Bonds existed. I looked at in the last few years in the American League, a lot of guys had some big years, but Shohei Ohtani existed. You know what I mean? Like generational guys. I look what Aaron Judge is doing this year. He's only the third player ever to have 50 home runs and win a batting title besides Jimmy Fox and Mickey Mantle. Historical stuff. Fourth player ever to hit 50 home runs in 4 different seasons. McGuire, Sosa, Babe Ruth, and now Judge. He's hitting 330, which I know people say average doesn't matter, which I disagree with. If you're hitting 330, that means you're doing something every night. That means you're helping your team. It means you're hitting good pitching. You're hitting closers. You're hitting number one starters. He has an American League record for intentional walks. What if those 32 intentional walks or whatever that he had, they pitched to Aaron Judge? What if he had 60-some homers this year? Would we be like, oh, man, it's a no-brainer. It's Aaron Judge. I mean, he still has 52, 53 home runs, not many off Cal Raleigh. He's got 200 more points on his OPS than Cal Raleigh. And not saying Cal Raleigh hasn't had an MVP year. It's going to be very tight. These guys are both worthy. But in my opinion, in the numbers, we can't have voter fatigue and say, oh, man, Aaron Judge, he won it the last couple years, so we're going to have to give it to Cal Raleigh because he's doing what he's doing. No, Aaron Judge is still doing stuff that no one's ever done in the history of the game in 2025. So for that, I think he's the MVP.
Yeah, I agree with you completely on that. You see somebody batting over 330, you see a number like that, you think Tony Gwynn, Wade Boggs, Rod Carew. You don't think of this big beast of a guy who's hit 50-plus home runs 4 times. I've said before, I think Aaron Judge is in the conversation for greatest right-handed hitter of all time, at least in terms of peak value. And that's with all respect to Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Albert Pujols, all those guys. What about Toronto? As a number 1 seed, 94 wins, they don't seem like they really are going to strike fear into anyone's heart the way that some number 1 seeds might. What do you make of this Blue Jays team?
Well, I think did you think they were going to win, have the best record in baseball or in the American League? I mean, I don't think anybody really did, as a matter of fact. So I think they're playing with house money right now. I think they got a good ball club. I don't know if they knew they were going to win 94 games, 95 games. But when I look at the Blue Jays, that starting pitching for me, Bieber, I believe, was a great pickup there. Gosman, Bassett in that rotation. And then I think that lineup, I think Springer's, had an MVP type season. Guerrero, was a little cold at the end there. I think that kind of hurt them, but Alejandro Kirk had an all-star season. Just the way they play, it seems like every night it's a new guy in that lineup kind of getting the job done. It's a really fun team to watch. I think one of the biggest questions is Bo Bichette going to play? Because if Bo Bichette plays, I think that lineup is so different, so much better. He's one of the best hitters in baseball. So, the Blue Jays for me, they got a really good ball club. And the biggest thing for them is, can they put up the runs they need to win these games?
All right, let's take it over to the National League, Sean. Your Cincinnati Redlegs, 6th seed, getting in with 83 wins, making the playoffs, and facing the defending world champions for potentially 3 games at Chavez Ravine. They needed a big outing from Hunter Green in Game 1. They didn't get it. They're in the hole now, 1-0. What chance do you give the Reds of pulling off a minor miracle and grabbing 2 in a row to advance?
I mean, obviously the Reds are in my heart. You know, I'm a Reds Hall of Famer. I played most of my career with the Reds. I just love seeing them back in the playoffs. I think Terry Francona, Tito was the right guy to, get them in. It's just when I look at that team matching up against the Dodgers, it's a tough ask right now. With Snell, Snell getting game one, pitching the way he did. Yamamoto comes in game two, might be the best pitcher in baseball. And then you got Ohtani coming game three if you need him. And, they came out the gates. Ohtani hit a couple home runs game one. Enrique Hernandez is back. He's hitting some home runs. Just the way these guys are swinging it and the way that they're pitching right now. The biggest thing would be get Yamamoto out early, get to that bullpen. I think that's the best shot that the Reds would have. Get to that bullpen early. They scored 5 on them late in that game in game one. And I think that would probably be their biggest hope, is to try to get to the pen as quick as they can.
The winner of that series is going to get the Phillies, 96 win team. And then we've got the Padres and the Cubs. Cubs up 1-0 on the Padres. In the other wild card series, the winner of that one is going to get the Milwaukee Brewers. As you look at the National League overall here, I don't know, the 3 favorites would seem to be the Brewers, the Phillies, and the Dodgers. As you break down the National League, who do you think might have the edge there in terms of who you see advance into the Fall Classic?
Well, I really believe that the powers in the National League. I mean, there's so many good clubs. I think the Brewers, top to bottom, they just have a really good baseball team. I think Pat Murphy is the ultimate leader there. And then there's something about the Brewers, Yelich back, doing what he's doing, over 100 RBIs, 30 home runs. The Phillies are the real deal. They really are. And if Aaron Nola, pitched pretty well down the stretch, if he can get back some of the magic with the reason they signed him to that long-term deal, and you can add him in with Suarez and Sanchez, you got a real rotation there. And, the way that Schwarber, these guys can get you in a hurry. You could be just going along and all of a sudden they'll put a 5-6 spot on you in one inning with Schwarber and Harper and that whole lineup, top to bottom, is pretty impressive. So I like the Phillies. The Dodgers are going to be tough. I really believe that. The Dodgers, with Max Muncy being back in that lineup, Tommy Edman joined him at the end. I think the lineup's longer, and that rotation just got a lot nastier with the way Shohei's been pitching. So, good teams. And the Cubs, obviously, and the Padres, I think they're 2 good teams too. I don't know who's going to come out of that series. Obviously, the Cubs are up 1-0, and Suzuki's back swinging it. So, whoever comes out of there is going to give the Brewers a run for their money.
Yeah, 5 90-plus win teams in the NL playoffs here, which is pretty damn impressive when you really look at it. Sean, in other news, we know it's official now. Major League Baseball is going to adopt the ABS system for the 2026 season. It's going to be the challenge system, where each team gets 2 challenges and then you retain any challenge where you're correct. So the umpires are still obviously going to be important. Pitch framing for catchers, for guys like Patrick Bailey, pitch framing is still going to be an important component. It's not, completely a computerized system that would remove that art from the game. How do you feel about the ABS system as a hitter, as a fan, and how do you expect that to go next year as we do something bold and new in Major League Baseball?
I love it. I think it's got enough research in the minor leagues. It takes up 57 seconds. It's not a pace of play thing. It takes up, I think, adds 57 seconds to the game, or if that's the average or whatever. But I love the fact that I think it makes everybody better. I think if I can challenge, I'm learning the strike zone better. I think the umpires are going to have to up their game, and I think the umpires in the big leagues are the best in the world anyway. I mean, I think these guys are so great at their job. I think it's going to make them even better. I like that the pitch framing is still going to be a part of the game. I don't want that to go away. If you just had a straight robotic system, then every call was by a robot, you would lose that pitch framing part of the catcher. So I love that. And I think, Ricky, the biggest thing's for the fans. For the fans, when you're watching these games and you got an ABS call and you're like, oh, here we go. What are they going to say? And it comes up like it's a tennis match at Wimbledon or, whatever. And you see that ball, it's a strike. There's a real strategy there. You get 2 each. So when do you use them? Do you use them later? What's the team strategy to use them? And all that stuff. So I think it's great for the fans. I think it's going to be great for the game of baseball. And I love the new system.
You know who I talked to a couple of months ago who didn't like it, Sean? This won't surprise you.
Who?
Tom Glavine. Tom Glavine's not a fan.
I'm sure Tommy wouldn't like it because Tom was living just off the edges all the time. You know,
was.
So and there's no way he would like this system.
Yeah, he was not a fan. All right, now before you go, Sean, let's have a little bit of fun here. You know, you caught me fiddling with my hair before we started taping.
Gorgeous hair, Ricky. Gorgeous hair, bro.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you caught me fiddling with my hair, and you had something very nice to say about me with Super 70s and whatever. And I said, well, you know, I can't hit a slider. I can't hit anything. You get the velocity over 80, and I'm in big fucking trouble. Period. But I ribbed you a little bit about the foot speed. I said, I don't know. I might be able to run with you, although I don't truly believe that. And you said, hey man, I had 18 stolen bases in my career, and I had to pull up Baseball Reference to make sure that you weren't joshing me. Turns out, not only did you steal 18 bases, you only got caught 8 times. You had 1 year where you were 4 for 4. I think it's time to celebrate the crafty heads-up base running of the mayor on the program today.
Ricky, you're the first interview I've ever had that's wants to celebrate my speed, and I just can't tell you how much I appreciate it, bro, because, you know, I was just on Dan Patrick earlier today, and the last thing going out, he's like, well, you know, you got thrown out from left field. And I say to myself, hey, listen, first off, I thought the guy caught it at third, so it wasn't a straight running down the first base. And second off, I'm not the only member anymore. I am actually keeping tabs on this. Dylan Moore got thrown out for the Mariners last year from left, and Tommy Pham got thrown out from left this year. So there's 3 members in the 7-3 club now, which is great. And I like to say, maybe I start bringing up my 18 stolen bases, and I say, hey, listen, Dan, I had 18 more stolen bases than you did in the big leagues. But no, obviously I'm not known for my speed. The problem with me, Ricky, is that I look like I was ice skating in quicksand, dude. It was just a tough watch. Even when I watch film of myself now, I hit one in the gap, and it's just an absolute grind to get to second base, diving into second base. But you know what I mean? You can't have it all, brother. You know what I mean? You can't have it all.
Hey, let me tell you something. If you can rake like you, teams will put up with station to station when you get on base.
In 1999, at the All-Star game, I'm in the clubhouse in the training room with Luis Gonzalez, Mark McGuire, Barry Larkin, Jeff Bagwell. We're talking about, and I'm the youngest guy in there. I'm literally just a fly on the wall. I just want to listen. And Luis Gonzalez says to me, hey, Case, you're leading the league in hitting, aren't you? And no, you're leading the league in hits. I was hitting 371 at the break. I had 127 hits at the break. I think something like that. He goes, yeah. He goes, how many hits you have? I go, I think I got 127 hits. Don't quote me on that, something like that. He goes, all right. He goes, how many infield hits you got? I said 0. He goes, now that's raking.
That's right. None of those Ichiro cheapies.
All legit. You know what I mean? All legit.
Like a man. That's a manly batting average right there, up in the 300s. All right. Hey, Sean, man, it is always a pleasure when I have you on. I always look forward to it. Always a blast, man. Appreciate you making time for us today.
Ricky, thanks a lot, dude. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate your stuff on Super 70s. You were an absolute genius on that stuff. Enjoy the postseason. And, dude, you look like Vince Neil did back when he was rocking with Motley Crue back in the day with the crew with that beautiful hair you got, man. Keep it going.
That's one of the nicest things anybody's ever said to me. Girls, girls, girls. He is Sean Casey. A little update here for you. The Guardians beating the Detroit Tigers today since that conversation took place just a couple of hours ago. So we're going to have an elimination game tomorrow in Cleveland. Tigers and Guardians. We'll find out who's going to move on to the ALDS there in that one. Folks, don't forget today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is fun and simple to play. You know, you and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. And I say it's fun to play, and the most fun part in some respects is taking advantage of the max discounts. I have done so to financial profit on more than one occasion this season so far, and I'm looking forward to continue taking advantage of that. Prospects is the best place to win cash for reasons just such as the max discount. Join millions of users and sign up today. And best of all, when you use my code Ricky, you'll get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Yeah, that's right. Just use my code Ricky, that's RICKY, and you'll get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. It is as simple as that. Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Cleveland hopes that they have made the right decision because Joe Flacco is out as the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, the 40-year-old grizzled veteran, Super Bowl winner. In fact, I got a lot of respect for Joe Flacco. You carve out an NFL career the length of his, you've had a damn good career. Joe Flacco is underrated. But at the age of 40, the Browns are 1-3, 6 interceptions from Joe Flacco already on the season, and they are turning the page and handing the keys over to their rookie quarterback. No, not that one. The one that they took in the third round, Dylan Gabriel, will be the starter week 5. Right here, Dylan Gabriel. It did not take long for the Browns to decide that they were going to look to their quarterback of the future, and what does that mean for their other quarterback of the future? When reached for comment, Shedeur Sanders had this not to say.
Third quarterback. Vocally, anything to say?
I guess yourself
By the way, my friend, Shedeur Sanders pantomiming. I'm not sure exactly what. And it kind of takes me back to the Ronnie T-shirts thought
What can you say?
that he expressed not long ago of, I don't know if this kid
How much has Joe
I
been
mean,
important
I'm
to both of
kind
you and
of on
Dylan
his
in
side
terms of your guys' like
at this
development to this point?
I'm like, let's give him a shot, give him a chance, but I don't know. Maybe it would be the professional thing to do to actually say something when you're asked a question about that. Maybe Joe Flacco's available now to go on a cannonball run with me. What do you think? This country needs a cannonball run more than ever. You look around at this world, this country, desperately, now, more than ever, give me a good cannonball run. Where are Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise when you need them? I would be willing to take on that responsibility. Somebody call Joe Flacco. We'll get in a car and we'll drive that son of a bitch all the way across this great land of ours. Maybe we'll even take in a game at the WNBA Finals if we pass through Phoenix or Las Vegas. I know a little something about Phoenix and Las Vegas. That's the Ricky Cobb Travel Disaster Series is what we're going to call that. We had Ricky Ricardo on the program yesterday saying that a Yankees-Phillies World Series would be the Ricky Ricardo Series. Phoenix, Las Vegas for the WNBA title is the Ricky Cobb Planes, Trains, and Automobiles series. We're just going to say that right now. All right, that is a wrap for today's show, my friends. We'll have America's Poll of the Day teed up for you again tomorrow. The results will be in. In the meantime, get over to Super 70 Sports and vote in the poll that we have today. We'll give you a little results and analysis tomorrow, along with everything else that we love to do on this program. You can find us, as always, at Fox Nation, Outkick.com, and on YouTube at The Ricky Cobb Show, our new channel. So get over there, check it out. All of the Ricky Cobb Show content that you want right there, conveniently located in one place on the Ricky Cobb Show channel on YouTube. If you prefer to digest this delicious meal in podcast form, we got you covered on Spotify and Apple. And you can also find this program and all of our content scattered out there around the social media landscape on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and of course on X, where you will find me at Super 70 Sports. My thanks today to Ronnie T-shirts. Ronnie had a pretty easy day today. He didn't get a lot of touches, but I thank him nonetheless. I'm sure his paycheck will still cash just as nicely. My thanks to Sean Casey for another great interview. Always look forward to having him on the program. He's certainly one of the sweetest bastards that we have on this show on a regular basis. My thanks as well to Molly and Colin in Nashville, to P.A. Jarrett and producer Tim for doing some solid work today. But most of all, I thank you, because you guys are the reason that I do this. And without you, there would be no me. There would be no Ricky Cobb Show. There would be no Super 70 Sports. And I do love and appreciate you guys for that. So, with all of that said, we will look forward to meeting you here again tomorrow when we will tee it high. And yes, indeed, we will let it fly with another episode of The Ricky Cobb Show.